Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. June 28th, 2024. Let's get into it. So the first story that I wanted to get into was that the Bolivia CIA-sponsored coup has been overturned. So doesn't seem they're having much success on all of these coups that the CIA has done around the world. Wouldn't it be nice if the United States would just kind of go out and, rather than spend our money overthrowing governments, I think it would be nice if we would just cooperate with them and say, you know what, let's have a business relationship. Let's, we want to mine your minerals, but we don't mind if you make a nice hefty profit at the same time that we get a discount or something like that. But no, we got to spend $200 billion on a war in Ukraine. But anyway, let's watch that video on the Bolivia coup.
Foreign interest in lithium was at the core of the latest coup attempt in Bolivia. That's according to a comment the country's president shared exclusively with RT.
In any coup, interests matter. In the case of Latin America, there have always been both internal and external interests in any coup. We've already been through this. It's practically been a constant in all the coups that we've been through that I can remember. The coup of 71, 79, 80, the coup of 2019. In all these cases, the economic aspects were the prerequisite. In a recent case, it was because of lithium. We're currently negotiating a long-term contract for a lithium-related project from 2019. Therefore, we have never dismissed the version that there are internal and external interests in state coups.
This statement follows the storming of the country's presidential palace by soldiers on Wednesday. The mutiny was led by General Juan Jose Zuniga, who said he wanted a new government. He was arrested shortly after facing off with President Luis Arce, whose supporters quickly filled the streets of La Paz amid the coup attempt. The military official has been charged with terrorism and insurrection. 17 people were arrested in connection to the failed coup a day later. A number of them had links to the military. The Bolivian government says it had prior intelligence on the planned insurrection. But the country's foreign ministry accusing U.S. embassy staff of meddling in Bolivia's domestic affairs just 2 days prior to the failed coup.
The Bolivian Foreign Ministry reports that it summoned the U.S. Charge d'Affaires Deborah Javier on Monday to bring to her attention concerns and claims about a number of statements and actions made by employees of the U.S. Embassy. They are regarded as interference in internal affairs.
Social media has been flooded with various posts where people accuse the CIA of backing the coup in response to Bolivia's support for Gaza, close ties to Russia, and vast lithium supplies. The Latin American nation has the largest reserves of the key tech industry mineral on the planet. While Bolivia has a low extraction and production capacity for now, it recently signed lithium investment agreements with China and Russia. In June, the Bolivian president visited the Russian city of St. Petersburg, where he was a guest of honor at the International Economic Forum. There, Luis Arce praised BRICS economies for withstanding U.S. hegemony and revealed his state's interest in joining the alliance. Social researcher and editor Marco Fernandez says the Latin American country's interest in partners is one of the reasons why the U.S. is looking for regime change in Bolivia.
Is the recipe of the whole history is basically, of course, U.S. is funding lots of NGOs in Bolivia, lots of programs. There's a lot of evidence, of course, about U.S. interests in Bolivia and how much this can lead to coup attempts. Bolivia has just last year, Bolivia did 2 major agreements with both Russian and Chinese company, especially CATL, which is the global leader of bathium lithium manufacturer from China. Remember in 2019, there was another coup in Bolivia against President Evo Morales. And in Latin America, we say, you know that why there was never a coup d'etat in the United States? Because they don't have a U.S. embassy there. So unfortunately, this is our sad history. But I think the people reacted. People were in the streets. The workers were reacting with general strike, etc. And there's all international, massive international support for President Luis Arce. So let's see the next chapters.
All right, so there So that's the video on the coup. I just did want to talk about, some of the coups that the United States, the CIA has tried to conduct. I mean, you had the Maidan Ukraine coup that took place in 2014. Now, that was a success. You got to give the CIA credit there. They killed 1 million people. And, they're still dying in Ukraine. So the CIA had huge success killing 1 million people. But then, of course, we also had the Belarus coup. That one failed. If you didn't know, I mean, Russia now and Belarus, they're bosom buddies thanks to the CIA. That coup failed. Then you had the Syrian coup. That coup failed, and now Russia and Syria are bosom buddies. And then you had the Kazakhstan coup. That failed, and now Russia and Kazakhstan are bosom buddies. And then you had the Turkey Erdogan the coup. That failed. So Turkey's not feeling real favorable, and looks like he's going to join BRICS, and he may go to war with Israel because his people are clamoring for him to get down there and fight the United States. So it doesn't look like the CIA is making many friends around the world. What do you think? Well, especially the warmongering Democrats. We had the Venezuela coup. I forgot about that. And there was the Bolivia coup. Both of those failed. And then, of course, we've got Africa. And like Nigeria, everything's going the wrong way there. All those coups, the coups there were actually the opposite direction. And they were pro-United States or France governments, because we were stealing all of their resources, and instead they overthrew. And then, of course, Russia and China stepped into the gap and said, "Hey, we want your resources, but we're willing to help you out, buddy. And if you'll just give it to us." So anyway, you saw the first thing. Let's get into the next. This is Julian Assange. If you didn't know, he's gone free. I did want to comment on this because I put out a tweet on this, and I just read it to you because anyway, the hero Julian Assange is free today, and many think he will continue the journalism fight for justice. I would like to think so, but unless you have spent time in solitary confinement, like I have, he is now very damaged goods. His mind is no longer functioning, and he has a long road to recovery, if at all. What I want to describe to you is what solitary confinement is like. Let me describe total solitary confinement for you. You sleep on a rubber hard bed in about an 8x10 cell with nothing else in the room but an iron toilet that the guards don't clean. The bright lights never shut off, and there's no windows. If you're lucky, the satanic guards let you out 1 hour per day to a small room. I remember that. Complete with tables and chairs where you may or may not have interaction with another human being. So, in my case, the other cells, sometimes they had people in them, sometimes they didn't. And a lot of times the guards will let you out and keep the other people in the other solitary confinement cells. And so you're just sitting there in this room at some tables by yourself. So let's just keep going. Where you may or may not have interaction with another human being. Julian was shut off from the world and tortured for years as a warning to all who stand against the warmongering Democrats and the rhinos. You are not even given a blanket. And of course, this is where I'm talking about, which tells you that Epstein did not commit suicide. Epstein, if he was in solitary confinement, which he was supposed to be, he didn't have access to a blanket. So the Democrats had that guy killed. If you don't understand that, you're just a mushroom. And the food and water you're given, a pig would not eat, or a human being just hoping to survive. You eat it just to survive. It's terrible. And I was only there a couple of weeks, man, in solitary confinement. Can you imagine being locked up for, what has it been? How long has Julian been in solitary confinement? I don't know, 7 to 14 years or something like that? Anyway, his mind is toast. I'm just saying he's got no chance. But anyway, let's watch the Julian Assange video.
Precedented in the United States to use the Espionage Act to criminally prosecute a journalist or a publisher. It's in the more than 100-year history of that law, it has never been used in this fashion. Julian spent years in Belmarsh. No one should spend a day in prison for giving the public newsworthy and important information. In this case, information that the United States government had committed war crimes.
Underneath that, there's an issue of, how he gained his freedom, what he had to do, how he had to bend his knee, if you like, to accept a criminal conviction. And this goes to the heart of the debate now. The United States will maintain that Julian Assange is now essentially a felon, a criminal. This has huge impact on journalism on a global scale. The United States, of course, was the engine of the case against Julian Assange. So it's understandable that a man with health problems, with a young family, who'd spent, almost 15 years essentially in prison, 7 years in the Ecuadorian embassy, remember, and then Belmarsh High Security Prison. Now, anyone who knows anything about Belmarsh High Security Prison, this is a very grim place. Rapists, murderers, and terrorists. It's about as secure a place you could put anybody. Julian Assange is a journalist, quite a gentleman. So this sort of demarked the brutality of the whole engine behind this. One of his lawyers outlining the reality of the deal and the impact that this deal will have going forward on global journalism.
For years, the U.S. government has claimed that these publications did great harm. Today in court, the United States government admitted that there is not a single person anywhere that they can produce that was actually harmed by these publications.
In order to win his freedom, Julian pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit espionage for publishing evidence of U.S. war crimes, human rights abuse, and U.S. wrongdoing around the world. This is journalism. This is the criminalisation of journalism. And while the plea deal does not set a judicial precedent, it's not a court decision, the prosecution itself sets a precedent that can be used against the rest of the media.
Freedom of the press is in a very dangerous place. It's not evidence that it will move towards more protections, but rather less. That would have been the only good outcome for the press in general if the U.S. government had abandoned this case entirely.
Nobody from the United States culpable in the crimes that WikiLeaks exposed, that Julian Assange has dedicated his life to exposing. Nobody has been charged with any killing. You've got well over 1 million civilians dead in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya. The list goes on and on and on. So the man who exposed the crimes is now a criminal. The people who carried out the crimes which he exposed are completely blameless, it seems. So again, it's going to come back to the mechanism by which the Americans have taken their pound of flesh, if you like. You must bend your knee to us. You must accept that you're a criminal. And it's very difficult to see how anybody wouldn't have accepted this deal after such a long time in solitary confinement, the most brutal conditions, that he had to take the deal due to his health. But the big issue here is what does this mean for global journalism? What does it mean for the pursuit of truth?
All right, so there you go. This was a good one here. We're going to get into the Trump versus Biden debate. But I did want to read you my my tweet here. Well, you know what? Let's have a little bit of fun before I get into the serious stuff. So this is the first video. This is Trump flying high. Oh yeah, wasn't that great? That was awesome. And then we got the meme video that's come out about Trump and Biden. Let's watch that. I mean, like I said, we just want to have some fun.
Hey, look at girl who dealing with everything that happened.
Today, Junior! Get him out of here!
I'm already Tracer.
What about Widowmaker?
I'm already Widowmaker.
I'll be
Sweet dreams are made of these.
Quaaludes 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain. Adderall to stay focused. Xanax to take the edge off, pot to mellow me out, cocaine to wake me back up again, and morphine, well, because it's awesome. More than make me.
19-year-old, and I'll measure your PPs on the next episode of The Why.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look.
All right, so that was great. That was great. So now I'll get into the serious stuff here. Dementia is a term used to describe a group of symptoms affecting memory, thinking, and social abilities. In people who have dementia, the symptoms interfere with their daily lives. Okay, so I've got firsthand experience with this. Well, personally and not personally. My mother, in the end, hated me as I tried to help her, as the doctors would not give me medical power of attorney to help her. So if you're an old person and you got a kid you trust or a friend that you trust, you got to give them mental power of attorney before you lose your mind. Otherwise, they can't make decisions for you. And in my mom's case, I couldn't make any decisions for her. I mean, I did the best I could in a awful situation. Good Lord, hell, I broke my damn neck. But let's just keep going. So she often cussed me out and threw food and drink that I put down beside her bed around her bedroom. She would just take the table over, throw it. Get the hell out of my room! Get the hell out of my room! Mom, I'm just trying to help you out. I'm just trying to give you some food and some water, man. You know. Then she tried to suicide on pills. But you know what? The medical institution still wouldn't declare she had dementia. I don't understand it. I would think when she suicide, she would often, I'd go in there and, I hope you just die. I hope you just die. I said, Mom, I just want to go home, man. I said, you need to get yourself taken care of. Well, I know. I hope you have to stay here forever. Stay here forever. Well, boy, she was one nasty human being towards the end, I'm going to tell you. She pooped in the bed and laughed as she cleaned, as the cleaning lady and I had to wash her sheets. She often wrote me out of the will for 50% and gave 50% of the estate to the cleaning lady. That's how much she hated me. Even though I was just trying to help her out. And, which was fine. I mean, it was her money. I didn't really care. I didn't need it. So watching Genocide Joe and a Democrat elderly man try to show that he's still cognizant on the debate stage while his evil wife was there made me very sad. Did you see when Joe came in there and grabbed him by the arm? I mean, it was the most pathetic thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I don't think his family likes him very much. I mean, obviously his wife just wants to exploit him for power, and the kids hate their father. I mean, I don't think his daughter left a diary, Hunter left a laptop. I mean, how much more do the kids want to hate their father? This is who Democrats are. They have tortured this evil old man for years. We all know that we all know Obama's in control of the government. I mean, come on. But Joe Biden ain't leading anything. If you watched any of the debate, you got to know that. This video about the Democrat... and I put up a video a couple days back about the Democrat mafia, and definitely go and watch that. But one of the things that I was looking for, and it really pissed me off, is I couldn't find... I wanted just because I didn't watch much of the debate. I mean, it was just like, what's the point? I mean, CNN's running it, and them trying to cover for a demented old man was the worst, craziest thing I've ever seen. But let's get the clips from the debate, and we'll watch them one after the other. Here you go.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country. Not one single court in America said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far. He made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life. You say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, like they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar. She said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
I passed the most extensive climate change legislation in history. We find ourselves, and by the way, black colleges. I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have those. They don't have the kind of contributors that they have to build these laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. They just have the money, but now they'll be able to get those jobs in high tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing with the environment. He pulled out of the Paris Peace Accord, Climate Accord. I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
Zelensky comes to this country. He walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
Like so many politicians, this man is just a complainer.
He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country.
His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there.
And he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, 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 Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it. Zelensky comes to this country. He walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled. Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong. Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one.
The total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
So that was all the clips from the debate. I kind of want to get to the last part of this video. I want you to remember back, because one of the things that really affected me mentally and led to my divorce was when Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. Let's watch a brief video about that pullout from Afghanistan and what that really looked like. I want you to look back in history, huh?
Your own intelligence community has assessed that the Afghan government will likely collapse.
That is not true.
It took the Taliban just 1 week to regain control of Afghanistan.
Disaster unfolding very quickly. This is really an American catastrophe.
Secretary of State Blinken declaring this is manifestly not Saigon.
Afghans who helped the West now fearing for their lives.
10,000 civilians, SIV applicants, millions more are left behind.
And then this, an act of utter despair. Several fell from the sky.
Afghan mothers passing their children to American soldiers over an airport wall.
It is insane that there are people holding their American passports.
I can't believe the world abandoned Afghanistan. Our friends are going to get killed. They're going to kill us.
The Taliban now has a list of people who are working for the Americans. This effectively can be turned into a kill list.
It's a suicide attack.
120 people have been injured. 13 U.S. troops are also among the casualties.
We will respond with force and precision at our time, at the place we choose, in the moment of our choosing.
7 innocent children and 3 innocent adults dead.
They assessed what the US had left behind. The Taliban forces parading captured American weapons.
Americans also forgot to destroy biometric devices.
Extraordinary success.
Total failure by the United States government.
These Afghan allies who desperately need our evacuation.
This is a betrayal of the American military.
By doing everything in my power right now to get people out.
Got blood on my hand.
Okay, so that was that. So before I get to the last video, I did want to give you some ticker symbols. Rick Rule was on a good video that I saw, and he was pointing out that if you're not going to do your research and your homework, you don't want to get into the junior mining stocks. You know that I'm a gold buff. I'm into mining stocks. I'm into silver, platinum, copper. So, I wanted to just give you, because what he was saying, and it made sense, if we do get a nice run up in silver, gold, or the commodity stocks, you just want to own the big ticker symbols. So just let me throw this out to you. So you got Rio. That's Rio Tinto Group. RIO is the ticker symbol. Then you've got BHP. That's another huge company. You can look these up, but I always use Yahoo Finance, but I guess if you just use DuckDuckGo, you can look them up that way. Then you got FNV, which is Franco-Nevada. That's another big company. And then you got Glencore, GLEN. So I just wanted to give you a couple of ticker symbols if you want to get into mining stocks, and they pay you dividends. So what more can you ask for? Are you going to go out and buy the tech stocks right now? I mean, Nvidia is at all-time highs. I wouldn't touch them I wouldn't touch Amazon. I wouldn't touch Microsoft. It's up to you, man. I mean, I wouldn't touch Intel, for example. But anyway, we're going to finish up with some Houthi missiles flying out. Peace out. Stay free. You can run on for a long time, run on for a long time, run on for a long time. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Go tell that globalist liar, that Democrat idiot writer, that rhino rambler, that nuclear war gambler, that backbiting U.S. politician. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down. Sooner or later, God's gonna cut you down.